Welcome to PMI-Houston's HESS location. Happy to see you all here, and we're excited tonight that we have a series of good speakers that I think you're really going to enjoy. So to get started, how many of you have a fear of public speaking? Come on, admit it. All right. All right, so we got some people that are going to tell the truth. Okay. How many of you have been suddenly presenting when you didn't expect to? You're suddenly presenting. Your PM doesn't show up that's driving the meeting. You become the presenter, or your boss who said they were going to lead the meeting. So these are the type of conversations that we suddenly start to have and lead that are can be difficult. And we find that a lot of people have struggled with that and have a fear of it. So the first thing they say about fear is what? Admit it. So this gentleman we have with us tonight has written a book called Necessary Bridges. He's going to not cover the whole book, but just a portion of the book to give you some help on conquering some of those fears. Rashid is a member of PMI-Houston and has been ambassador for Toastmasters Houston, our project managers. And if you didn't know that, we actually have 2 project management Toastmaster groups. 3. 3? We have 3. I guess I should read our website more often. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Rashid?
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
It always seems impossible until it gets done. Thank you, Mr. Nelson Mandela, for these words. I have recently been given a challenge, and frequently it feels impossible. Thank you, Mr. Mandela, for your encouragement. I need it. But most of all, thank you for the gift of your example. I cherish it. So what is this challenge? I have an epiphany. I have a crystal clear realization that every project manager and every engineer can be a better project manager and a better engineer by becoming a better public speaker and a better storyteller. The task that I've given myself is to reach every project manager and engineer on the globe and convince, if required, cajole them that they can do their job better by starting public speaking and storytelling earlier and earlier. That's the challenge. How did I, Rashid N Kapadia, come to stand so firmly in 2 worlds that are strangely separated? Let's talk about engineering. I grew up in India. I have a twin in the 60s and the 70s. It was a very different world then. But even back in the 70s in India, we had a version of the American dream. And it went like this. Son, my son, you can be anything you want, as long as it is a doctor or an engineer. My twin becomes a doctor, I become an engineer. The late 70s in this shipyard, I was first exposed to the marvels of marine engineering. And it became clear to me that human ingenuity is just mind-boggling. I came to relish engineering. I came to champion engineering as a profession and engineers as people who can make anything, anything. And I want to be good. Yes, I aspired to greatness in my profession. I did. I sailed on ships like this for over a decade. I came to the United States as a student, and then, like all of you, don't know how it happened, but I became a project manager. Yet I can say this, over 3 decades, this was true. I always loved my job. I loved what I used to do. And some, in a moment of generosity, might even say I was good at it. But towards the end, something began to become very clear to me. There are some words that are no part of our job. And public speaking and storytelling was no real part of engineering, no real part of project management. Sure, I've given presentations at work, like all of you. And whether you'll admit it or not, I'm going to say this. They were wasted opportunities, and as far as I go, they were somewhere between utterly average and utterly awful. Until I started learning that this is very powerful. That's how I ended up in the world of engineering. What about public speaking and storytelling? How did I end up there? I'm convinced that it started in 1971. I was a young boy. My father was a Rotary International District Governor, and he would travel from one town to another, and speak to clubs like this regularly, all the time. Sometimes he'd take us with him, my twin and me. And I can say this, my father was a mesmerizing speaker. I wish you could hear him speak. If you were in his audience, you might have heard him say, in New Zealand, there is a tourist attraction. The visitors, they get into a boat. They are rowed deeper and deeper into a cave. And it gets darker and darker. And when it gets completely black, the tour guide calls for silence. And after a while, you see a sparkle. It's a firefly, a glowworm. Then another. Then hundreds. Then tens of thousands, and the cave comes alive. Darkness turns to light. And then my father would start cajoling his Rotarians. We are like those fireflies. Alone with our tiny lights, we cannot dispel darkness. But together, working together despite our tiny lights, we can dispel darkness anywhere. We can dispel darkness everywhere. And I remember being mesmerized by him, but I have some strong memories. One was total strangers coming up to my father and according him a lot of respect, a lot of affection. We are with you, we will get this taken care of. I remember sensing that this thing called oratory is tremendously powerful. But mostly what I remember, almost like it was yesterday, is this. I love my father. I honor what he's doing. I want to speak like him. And I believe that this is when the seed of public speaking was planted inside of me. Then life happened. School, college, work. And 40 years later, at a PMI venue, I first heard of Toastmasters International. And my first thought, I want to speak like my father, I joined instantly. And I can say today, this has been one of the best decisions I have made in recent years. And that's how I ended up in the world of public speaking. And to me, it's clear. These two worlds have to be bridged, starting from college. Something else my late father taught me, always, son, you are an ambassador. When you go to school, you represent me directly. You represent our family directly. And when I grew up and went abroad, you are an ambassador for your country. Your country will be judged by the way you behave, whether you like it or not. And so it's natural that I see myself as an ambassador sometimes, and as an ambassador for our professions, engineering, project management. I'm here to give you an internal message, which is this. Every project manager can be a better project manager by being a better public speaker and a better storyteller. When did this message hit home? After a 360 survey. Everyone's familiar with 360 survey. I wrote, I'm not too good. Someone wrote, he's not too bad. at the end of it, there's a facilitator who puts all the data together, and I was having an excellent conversation with her. I was really into the message. I was reading it line by line with her. And she could tell that I loved my job. The results were looking quite good. Towards the end of the hour, she asked me, Rashid, are you sure you're an engineer? What does that mean? Why do you ask? That I have never spoken to an engineer like you. I wish I could take you on the trainings when I'm training engineers. And it was in Houston, we have a problem moment for me. It was clear to me, this was an uninvited insight from an expert in an industry, that there is a shortcoming in our training. And all I could think, the difference between me and the other engineers is that I had acquired some expertise in public speaking and storytelling. That's the only difference. I couldn't deny this anymore. So, I'm not the only ambassador for our profession. All of you are. I'm expecting you to think about this and spread this message. That every project manager in your company can be a better project manager simply by being a better public speaker. I'd like you to meet my son 20 years ago. Around this time, my wife, she's here, she said, I want to buy something. And my son tells her, Mom, if you want a dog from Dad, ask him for a horse. So I've just asked you for a dog. I've given you my mild version. Every project manager, sorry, insanity, you know where I've got it from now. So I'm going to make a lot of insane requests to you all. I inherited it. Every project manager, this is the dog version, can be better at your job by acquiring expertise in public speaking. But I want more. I want you to know this, that every project manager can, by choice, relish storytelling, really relish it. We can champion public speaking during the course of our work. And yes, we can all aspire to greatness in oratory. Yes, we can all aspire to greatness in oratory. Insane, impossible, can't be done. Project managers, oratory, greatness. Please meet Mr. Nelson Mandela. Oh, and by the way, a little trivia from today. Many people say, especially my dad's generation, we knew exactly where we were when Kennedy was assassinated. There are moments that stick. We knew where we were when Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. We knew where we were on 9/11. In the history of civil rights, everyone says, we knew where we were when Nelson Mandela was hanged. And it happened to be exactly 25 years ago today. So don't argue with impossible. What next? I've had this big realization. What next? Hey Matt, what next? One day I'll write a book. Came to my mind. This one day, be careful of it. Terrible stuff. The minute you sit down at the typewriter, woo! If not now, what then? So I did. I made PMI proud of me. I did what any certified project manager would do. I wrote a project charter. World's shortest project charter. But no, I wrote a more serious charter. But I can tell you this, and I know I'm preaching to the converted, but I can tell you this, project management works. Project management works. I got it done. It was no big deal. The book is written. It is complete. It's all over. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. So in all honesty, I'll say this. The fact that it's a book is almost incidental to me. It was some combination of a research project and a labor of love. And it's just so easy to put all that you have into a book. So that's what it is. What's next again? What's next? Book done. Yeah, he's insane. I'm going to stand in front of engineers and project managers everywhere I get a chance. And as eloquently as I can, I will ask you to spread the message. I will ask you to spread the message. I will ask you to see yourself standing in front of your team. I will ask you to tell them that they can be better at their jobs. by acquiring skills that are not a normal part of our education. I expect you to spread this message. See, I'm a project manager. No authority doesn't stop me at all from giving orders. Hey, don't act like you haven't done this yet. Okay, so here as an ambassador for your profession, you represent me directly, I represent you directly, spread the message. But don't be daunted. Don't be daunted. Anytime you think you can't, pull on something that gets you back on track. As an ambassador of this profession, I want to share with you what I have learned on this voyage. But I'm not going to go into the usual. The usual is end very strong. Start with a bang. Before you make a point, tell a story. There are plenty of books available. I want to share what I have learned. Very specifically, my background, the engineering analysis. And this, I think, are the biggest takeaways from me. Top 3 lessons. Fear of public speaking is completely overhyped, over-dramatized. It is not sensibly decoded. Number 2. Terrible, this was my hardest lesson. I was the rational person, super rational. Emotions were for idiots. Wow, did I have a wake-up call. Emotions are very, very powerful. It is for us to acknowledge and harness their power. And third, this was a completely unexpected gift. I found this thing called human connection. It happens surprisingly frequently in this world of public speaking and storytelling. It enables us to connect with people who we have never connected with for a long time. Serendipity, a gift that I did not expect. Fear of public speaking. Okay, I'm a single man waging a war. Here goes. It's officially called glossophobia. This is some of the nonsense associated with it. The fear of public speaking is considered to be greater than the fear of death. Now, when I first started, I heard this line, I laughed a little bit, I thought, okay, I remember it. Then after some time, when it was sold as the truth, I thought, come on, what is this? I mean, what is this? This is not true. After a while, my eyes would start rolling up. I would hear it over and over again, and finally, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. Yes. I have an opinion, it is not true, and I'm being very diplomatic. I could use some salty seafarer language in another location. But I come back to this. Let's be sensible. This is not a battle between dramatic point of view or all of it. Just let us look at this sensibly. That's not asking for too much. First, it is very real and it is very common. I have no doubt that I go through it. I've had my share. I always will. But I know what causes it and I know how to manage it. That being said, all comparisons to fear of death are pointless. Pointless. Let me ask you a question. Are you more afraid of death or public speaking? Just answer the question. That's the only survey you need to answer. And if you say that, it's really disrespectful to those who have really known the terror of death. This is nonsense. So let's decode it. The minute you try to look into what it is, you will come across this explanation. It is a primitive ancient response called the fight or flight. And whenever this is triggered in us, what we have is sensations in our body. That's it. You'll have some sensations in your body. First, flushed face. You'll go red. Throat will get choked. Tongue might swell up. Breathlessness, pounding chest. Pounding chest is my most frequent trigger. It happens to be on. Just huge pounding. I just look at it now, it's no big deal. Hands shaking, body going rigid, stomach in knots, sweaty glands. The whole biology of this is clearly explained to you. And please focus on this. Only this, nothing more. This is what we're up against. Some body sensations which will last for a few seconds or a few minutes. This is what we're up against. Nothing more. What brings it on? What brings it on? It's not public speaking. These sensations occur when a large number of people are looking at you. They are a fire alarm from an era where when a lot of people were looking at you, it was a prey-predator situation. One of two things was going to happen. But that situation isn't true, but the fire alarm keeps going on. That's what's going on here. So, if any of you are terrified of public speaking and I were to force you to come here, you'll probably have some of those sensations. Yet, in exactly the same circumstances, no one was in this room, you wouldn't have those circumstances. It does not have anything to do with the fact that you're speaking, it has something to do with the fact that people are paying attention to you. And the second is when you fear that you'll be judged or ostracized. Fear, even if you're going for your annual performance review, you'll have some of the sensations we talked about. That's the other trigger. So there are two primary triggers for the fear of public speaking, and that's it. Critical point. It is triggered by a part of our brain that is very ancient, that has been around before those parts of our brain that allow me to speak, to understand. It's been around for a long time. It does its job well. It keeps you alive. All the memories that you have associated with this is what keeps you away from public speaking. The memories of the anxiety are what stop you from stepping up on stage. I remember once I told a friend, he said, I hate public speaking. I said, you got it wrong. What you don't like is the sensation. And you have correlated them, it's a false correlation. If you just get this much, the fear of public speaking is gone. You will have sensation, you will know how to manage them. These are only sensations in your body. They're nothing more than that. They are going to go away. Take a stopwatch. Maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes, but it's not going to last longer than that. So let's take a look, a sensible look at all of what I've been saying, put together in a way that brings out a little education into what we're talking about.
Palm sweaty, heart racing, stomach in knots. You can't cry for help. Not only is your throat too tight to breathe, but it'd be so embarrassing. No, you aren't being stalked by a monster. You're speaking in public, a fate some deem worse than death. See, when you're dead, you feel nothing. At a podium, you feel stage fright. But at some point, we all have to communicate in front of people, so you have to try and overcome it. To start, understand what stage fright is. Humans, social animals that we are wired to worry about reputation. Public speaking can threaten it. Before a speech, you fret. What if people think I'm awful, that I'm an idiot? That fear of being seen as an awful idiot is a threat reaction from a primitive part of your brain that's very hard to control. It's the fight or flight response, a self-protective process seen in a range of animals, most of which don't give speeches. But we have a wise partner in the study of freaking out. Charles Darwin tested fight or flight at the London Zoo's snake exhibit. He wrote in his diary, "My will and reason were powerless against the imagination of a danger which had never been experienced." He concluded that his response was an ancient reaction unaffected by the nuances of modern civilization. So to your conscious modern mind, it's a speech. To the rest of your brain, built up to code with the law of the jungle, when you perceive the possible consequences of blowing a speech, it's time to run for your life or fight to the death. Your hypothalamus, common to all vertebrates, triggers your pituitary gland to secrete the hormone ACTH, making your adrenal glands shoot adrenaline into your blood. Your neck and back tense up, you slouch. Your legs and hands shake as your muscles prepare for attack. You sweat, your blood pressure jumps. Your digestion shuts down to maximize the delivery of nutrients and oxygen to muscles and vital organs. So you get dry mouth, butterflies. Your pupils dilate. It's hard to read anything up close, like your notes. But long range is easy. That's how stage fright works. How do we fight it? First, perspective. This isn't all in your head. It's a natural, hormonal, full-body reaction by an autonomic nervous system on autopilot. And genetics play a huge role in social anxiety. John Lennon played live thousands of times. Each time he vomited beforehand. Some people are just wired to feel more scared performing in public. Since stage fright is natural and inevitable, focus on what you can control. Practice. A lot, starting long before in an environment similar to the real performance. Practicing any task increases your familiarity and reduces anxiety, so when it's time to speak in public, you're confident in yourself and the task at hand. Steve Jobs rehearsed his epic speeches for hundreds of hours, starting weeks in advance. If you know what you're saying, you'll feed off the crowd's energy instead of letting your hypothalamus convince your body it's about to be lunch for a pack of predators. But hey, the vertebrate hypothalamus has had millions of years more practice than you. Just before you go on stage, it's time to fight dirty and trick your brain. Stretch your arms up and breathe deeply. This makes your hypothalamus trigger a relaxation response. Stage fright usually hits hardest right before a presentation, so take that last minute to stretch and breathe. You approach the mic, voice clear, body relaxed. Your well-prepared speech convinces the wowed crowd you're a charismatic genius. How? You didn't overcome stage fright. You adapted to it. And to the fact that no matter how civilized you may seem, in part of your brain, you're still a wild animal. A profound, well-spoken wild animal.
Profoundly well-spoken wild animal. Okay. When you experience these sensations in your body, that's all that we have to deal with. Perspective. My brain has many parts. One is saying something, one is saying something. Perspective. Second, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. Let's take a stopwatch and tell me how long it lasts. And here's another. There are plenty, and I mean plenty, thousands of coping techniques. Anything that relaxes you is a coping technique. He gave us one in the movie, Relax. But I found one truly intriguing one. Helen Hayes, First Lady of American theater. Tremendous actress. She had her share of it. She said, "You're not my foe. You're not my friend. You're my foe. Every time you show up, you're a companion, and you remind me." She used it, she harnessed it. I'll do better, I'll do my best, I'll do my best. Every time the sensation comes up, when you have to speak to your project team, here's an option. Let it remind you to do your best. Her language, not mine. It is a reminder that we should prepare. There are plenty of coping techniques. Now here's an interesting parallel. About 120 years ago in Paris, one of the first movies ever was screened. Let's take a little look at it. How do you explain it? There's only one explanation. It was the fight-flight response activated. The people stop watching movies. Why should we accept people in our profession not speaking up? What about the other side of the coin? There are sensations of anxiety. But anyone who has stood on a stage and made a contribution will tell you there are sensations of exhilaration, of validation, what my father must have felt in 1971, what anyone who has taken care of his team in front of a group can validate. What about the other side of the coin? When we talk about the fear of public speaking, why are we so silent on the other side of the coin? Is this a trade that is worth making? For a little bit of anxiety to deny the opportunity to be someone, to be strong? It's not a trade I recommend. Time to rewrite the code for stage fright. It's time to take this statement and with all the energy in your arm, throw it into the sea. Don't want to hear it again. Don't want to hear it again. Let's be sensible. Not asking for too much. Let's be sensible. It's an inevitable bridge. Some anxiety is going to be associated with it. It is an inevitable bridge. We all have to cross it. Glossophobia is overhyped. This is going to last for a few seconds. Perspective, practice, relaxation technique. It's not a big deal. Perspective, practice, relaxation technique. And this train has never run over any public speaker. You know that. Anybody can get here. Anyone can get here. Perspective, practice, relaxation. So that's my first lesson. And I believe that this is what is keeping most of you away. Everything else is stories that you'll make up. You have memories of anxiety, and you do not decode those memories accurately. Bring it to the engineers. Acknowledge and embrace the power of emotion. I said so once and I'll say it again. When I grew up, I used to look down on storytelling. I used to look down on acting. I used to look down on emotional behavior. And at work, I considered it my duty to be the most rational person in the room. Especially if I was in a position of trust. Especially if I was in a position of leadership. Okay, I'm aware that people are going to get emotional. I'm aware there are going to be political battles. I'm aware that someone truly dislikes someone. But it was going to be no part of my decision making. This was a construct that I would use for decision making. All gold medals will be awarded to those who think rationally. All silver medals will be awarded to those who think rationally. And in a fit of kindness, I might give a bronze to someone who makes an emotional argument. Ooh, was I wrong? This is how I thought we should run projects. Crisp, clear, data, facts, nothing else. And then slowly I had to start confronting this. New knowledge is showing up. Your emotions drive, some say, all your decisions. And after I gave a few speeches really badly, and after I told a few stories even more badly, and I said, what's going on here? It was an emotional wasteland there, no connection. And I knew that if I want to become good at this, I was going to have to study, and I was going to have to harness their force. A demolition job of sorts was required, and I believe new knowledge is giving us that. Whenever messaging, make sure, at least for me, understand the emotional consequences of that communication, of that decision. Yes, we have to be rational. Don't allow anyone to blind you to the utter need to understand what you're doing. But emotions drive decision making. So I reached these conclusions that rationality drives comprehension and it drives understanding. And yes, I always seek deep understanding. I want to make sure I understand what's going on. But emotions are what form memory. Now this is biology. If I want you to remember what I'm saying to you, I have to figure out how to get your emotion. If I get this, you'll remember nothing. If you feel some emotional connection, the need to speak well, you will remember what I'm saying. Emotions drive decision making. If you want to empower your team, get to their emotions. But even more than that, they allocate energy just as a matter of biology. If I want to be energized, I have to reach your emotions. If I want the team to really tear down the walls and get the energy, it's not going to happen without really reaching their emotions. You can sum all this up in one slide. People will not remember what I say. They will remember how they felt. The Rotarians in 1971, my brother and me, we don't remember my dad's words, but I remember how I felt. So I saw a video some time ago, and it moved me emotionally, charged me up with energy. So I watched it again and again and again. What's going on here? What's going on here? What is it about this video that has stirred me up? Because I want to bring this to my project team. You're going to watch it. It's from the movie Invictus.
Tell me, Francois, what is your philosophy on leadership? How do you inspire your team to do their best?
By example. I've always thought to lead by example, sir.
Well, that is right. That is exactly right. But how to get them to be better than they think they can be? That is very difficult, I find. Inspiration, perhaps. How do we inspire ourselves to greatness when nothing less will do? How do we inspire everyone around us? I sometimes think it is by using the work of others. on Robben Island, when things got very bad, I found inspiration in a poem.
A poem?
A Victorian poem. Just words, but they helped me to stand when all I wanted to do was to lie down. But you didn't come all this way to hear an old man talk about things that make no sense.
No, please, Mr. President. It makes complete sense to me. On the day of a big match, say a test, in the bus on the way to the stadium, nobody talks.
Ah, yes. They're all preparing.
Right. But when I think we're ready, I have the bus driver put on a song. Something I've chosen, one we all know. And we listen to the words together. And it helps.
I remember when I was invited to the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. Everybody in the stadium greeted me with a song. At the time, the future, our future, seemed very bleak. But to hear that song in the voices of people from all over our planet made me proud to be South African. It inspired me to come home and do better. It allowed me to expect more of myself.
May I ask, what was the song, sir?
Well, it was in Sikelele, Africa. A very inspiring song. We need inspiration, Francois, because in order to build our nation, we must all exceed our own expectations.
I would work for a project manager like that anytime. So here's a suggestion. I have a similar conversation with you. It moved me and I kept wondering, what's going on here? How can I figure this out? How can I bring this to my teams? Because it was clear, more than anything else, more than a project plan, more than anything, I want this emotional climate on my team. And finally, I got it. This is storytelling. This is storytelling at its very best. This is the power of storytelling. Let me sum up the section on emotion. People will not remember what you said. The captain of the rugby team would not remember what the president said had he not got deep into his emotion. But he left their former enemies saying, I will win that World Cup for you. That is the power of emotion. Public speakers, we have to harness it. Top lessons, fear of public speaking, incorrectly decoded. Ignore the power of emotions at your own peril as a project manager. Third, connection. I really don't even know how to describe it. So what is this? It is the most ineffable, the most visible, the most immeasurable of all my experiences in public speaking. I think that there is a universal hunger for connection, and it is based in some evolutionary neurobiological pattern. That's the best I can come up with now. Connection is what happened when my father spoke to his audience. Connection is what happened in the president's office when he spoke to the captain of the rugby. Public speaking and storytelling can enable connection. I first came across this concept from two books. It's Your Time to Shine. This was an unusual book. I don't have any great fear of public speaking, or nothing that I can't manage, but I read this book again and again and again. There's something here, like that movie. And there is a saying, when a student is ready, a teacher will appear. And Sandra Zimmer is my coach. It is my great honor to have her here today. Please give her a hand. I picked her brain more than she cares to talk about. I knew that there's something here. With all my heart, I recommend pick up this book. And there was a second book in the same vein. It's called Be Heard Now by Lee Gibson. These two books took me on a path that I did not expect to go down. It's not about gesture, it's not about vocal, it's not about any of that. It's about how you connect to your audience. And I'll try to sum it up in 2 slides. There's a lot more. To connect with an audience, you have to forget about being good. If I want to show you how good I am, I may impress you, but there will be no connection. Forget about being good. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. I may know more than you all about public speaking, maybe. If I come here just showing off, you may be impressed, but there will be no connection. But I care about this, and I care about our professions, and that increases the chance that we will connect with one another. If the messages get stranger and stranger, here's one. You must learn to receive the support of everyone in your audience, the attention and support. Some may be glaring, some may be bored, some may be angry, some may be with you. Whatever it is, in order to connect, you have to say that's support. Everyone in the audience is supporting me, and I can receive it as support. Try this with your project teams in conflict. All of it is support. And there will be something called connection. How do you do this? You have to develop an ability to listen even as you're speaking. First, you have to write a speech, then you have to memorize a speech, then you've got to do all this, and if that's not enough, I have to listen. But to connect, you have to listen with no agenda. With no agenda. I'm here to give you my knowledge, and whatever the outcome is, I'm fine with that. I'm here to serve you, and I'm okay with the results, whatever they are. I take it as support. Finally, to do this, there's a concept that they use called soft available eye. It's almost like you're absorbing the energy, but not judging something, not focusing something, just taking it all. These are the fundamentals of connection in public speaking. And they are very, very powerful options for any project manager. I first got a sense of this when I was doing a Toastmasters project. Apart from learning on it, there's a project called the Oratorical Speech. You have to take a famous person's speech, imagine you're that person and give the speech and memorize it by heart. And I was struggling with memory, so I said to hell with it. I'm leaving the notes at home, let the chips fall where they may, I'm going to give this speech. But I decided to do this. I will give one line looking at one person. Straight into that. Almost like we're the only people in the room. The next line, to another person. Third line, to another person. That was the strategy I was going to use, and it worked. And that day something changed. That day, I knew that I had struck the mother lode. This is the power of public speaking. Let me recap. Public speaking and storytelling can create immense connection. It happened in 1971 when my father was speaking across the district. It happened in the office of a president of South Africa who pulled off an impossible win in a case. Connection is very powerful. Public speaking and storytelling can enable it. So I want all of you to commit to becoming better public speakers and storytellers. And I'm going to ask you to write a project chart. Have clear deliverables. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 2 months, 10 speeches, 5 times, 10 pieces of paper. Write a project chart. It's marvelous what can follow once you do it. And I don't have to convince this crowd. So this is your action item from today. Project charter, deliverable. 6 months from now, I will stand right here and give a speech like this. And everyone will be cheering me. Write a project charter. Let me summarize my talk. 2 versions of my statement, dog and horse. Dog version, every project manager can be a better project manager. by being a better public speaker and a storyteller. Rationally, you all know this. Once emotionally you get it, you will act. Every project leader, that's all of you. You can relish storytelling. You can champion public speaking. And yes, you can and you must aspire to greatness in oratory. Top 3 lessons: fear of public speaking. Stay away from the salty language. Acknowledge the power of emotion, ignore them at your pleasure. Public speaking and storytelling are connection enablers. Anxiety, body sensation are an inevitable bridge. We all are going to go through them. Everybody can get here. Perspective, practice, relaxation techniques. People won't remember a word of what I've said. They will remember the way they felt when I spoke. Public speaking is a connection enabler. What I'd like to do to close is I want to demonstrate. It's not a traditional closing. I'm going to use this opportunity to practice what I have learned. Before I do that, I will ask you one last time. To become a better public speaker or a storyteller tonight, write a project chart. So the demonstration, I'm going to give myself some tasks. I'm going to make sure I get anxious. I'm going to set myself up to be judged. I'm going to choose something that's going to make me so nervous. And your task is to see if a train runs me over. I am going to allow myself to feel the emotion of this. I would never have done this a while ago. And I will try to connect deeply with all of you. The way I did it that day. Your task is to be flexible. Is to be willing to absorb the power of oratory. As does this demonstration work? Allow yourselves to feel it. You must feel it. You must feel the power of oratory. You know rationally it is powerful. You must feel it. That is your task. I'll use the same speech. It's over 50 years old. It's 14 minutes. I'll use 5 or 6 minutes, no more. A little bit of background about President Kennedy. When he was a young man, in England, after wartime, he was exposed to a lot of oratory associated with the war. Winston Churchill became an ideal. And these are the words I have read in a book. He came as a young man to relish oratory. Through his years in Congress, Senator, as a leader, he always championed oratory. And he showed every president of the United States, once and for all, that every president can be a better president by being a better public speaker. January 1961. So I'm going to ask your indulgence. I'm going to practice the speech. I'm going to try to get nervous, or if it comes, let it come. I'm going to try to feel these words. I'm going to try to connect with you. We meet today we celebrate today not a victory of a party, but a celebration of freedom, signifying an end as well as a beginning, signifying renewal as well as change. Our world is very different now. For man holds in these mortal hands the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that a torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and a bitter peace. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we Americans, we will pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship to assure the survival and success of liberty. To those nations that would make themselves our adversary, we offer not a pledge, but a request that both sides begin anew the quest for peace before the dark forces of destruction unleashed by science should engulf all of humanity in a planned or an accidental self-destruction. We dare not tempt our enemies with weakness, for only when our arms are sufficient beyond doubt can we be certain beyond doubt that they will never be employed. But neither can two great and powerful groups of nations take any comfort from our present force. Both sides overburdened by the cost of modern weapons. Both sides rightly alarmed by the steady spread of deadly weapons. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Since the founding of this nation, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. Now the trumpet summons us again, not as a call to battle, though embattled we are, but as a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year after year, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation.
The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. With a good conscience, our only sure reward, with history the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking His blessing and His help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own.
of oratory. Thank you, President Kennedy, for your example. I cherish it. My fellow project managers, here is a man who, as a youth, relished oratory. So should we encourage young engineers and project managers. Here is a leader who championed oratory. You are the leader of your project. So should we. Here is a man who once and for all showed us that every president can be a better president by being a better public speaker. You are the president of your project. You are the president of your project team. Your project teams need you to inspire them. You are an ambassador for project management. You represent me directly, I represent you directly. We need inspiration. Because in order to excel on our project and in our profession, we must all exceed our own expectations. Every project president can aspire to greatness in public speaking and storytelling. Thank you.
Take a couple of questions. We have a little bit of time. If there are a couple of questions, Rashid can take. Feel free to.
I have a question. In connectivity between people, do you find a role of humour? There should be, like, to connect, there's room for humour between the audience.
Yes, actually, I'd rather answer the question saying laughter. They find that when they map to people who are laughing neurobiologically, that the patterns resemble each other exactly. And the connection, the best we understand it now, is what they call neural resonance. You see the patterns being the same. Another advantage of connection and humor is that to some extent it can't be faked. A smile can be faked, but laughter and humor is more authentic, so it creates far more connection.
One more question?
Where can we get your book? Where can we get your book?
Okay.
Yeah, there are books in the back, so feel free to get them.
Yeah, right there.
I have to improve my sales.
This is how it looks like.
Ooh.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And as a token of appreciation, this is a little gift from PMI-Houston. You can probably keep in mind.
I'll write all your project chapters in my book.